After leaving Deep Purple in 1976, David Coverdale initially formed Whitesnake to back him up during his solo performances. The backing band was such a success that they later became an actual band. They gained commercial success with their 1987 album, Whitesnake, which included their most prominent singles Here I Go Again and Is This Love. This album's creation process was so challenging for the band that their entire lineup changed after the release. The band had gained recognition even before their 1987 album, but the American audience had started to lose interest. Therefore, they had to develop a new and improved version of themselves to get back in sync with their fans. Their drummer Cozy Powell quit the band before the album's production, and therefore they had to hire a new one. While auditioning drummers, Coverdale thought they needed a change in style to sound more electrifying and hook the listener. It was a struggling period for the band as they had to force their name into the rock world while their members were quitting. However, little did they know that this was only the beginning of their conflicts. This was the first and the final times Coverdale and the successful guitarist John Sykes worked together. While helping Coverdale co-produce the album, Sykes wanted to get to a specific guitar sound quality and started to work with the legendary producer Bob Rock. During the production, Coverdale faced a severe sinus infection that required an operation and prevented him from singing. This delayed the album's release, making the members, especially Sykes, angry. There are two sides to the story. According to Coverdale, Sykes was being selfish and self-centered as he never asked about him while he was in his lengthy recovery period. Lacking support, Coverdale thought that John was taking advantage of his situation and finishing the album by replacing him with a new vocalist, which planted the seeds of doubt into the singer's brain. However, Sykes addressed this in 2017 and stated that Coverdale was doing everything possible not to record his vocals, further delaying the band and acting egoistical. This annoyed John so much that in 2017 he stated that he would still not reunite or be included in any project with Coverdale ever again. When Coverdale came back, he started collaborating with Ron Nevison, but then switched to Keith Olsen. The band was stressed because they had already lost a lot of time with the singer's illness and his attitude. There were more disagreements over the sounds and Coverdale's reluctance to produce the album, as it was claimed that he complained most of the time. The album was done in 1986 and was ready for release when the seeds of doubt in Coverdale's mind started to sprout. He fired the entire band, losing trust in each one of them. Even though the album became the most successful record of Whitesnake, that lineup was fired by Coverdale due to personal differences, indicating that he couldn't get over his trust problems. Rock Candy featured an exclusive hard-hitting, no-holds-barred candid interview with guitarist John Sykes, who clarifies all of the setbacks and revisits all of the unbelievable issues he dealt with during the recording of Whitesnake's classic 1987 album Whitesnake. Sykes launched an incredible verbal attack on David Coverdale and Rock Candy, claiming the Whitesnake singer used every excuse possible to explain why he didn't want to record his vocals for the multi-platinum album. He blamed the weather. He wasn't happy with the studio. He even went so far as to say the microphones weren't good enough, said Sykes. I honestly think David suffered from nerves. Sykes, who co-wrote 9 of the album's tracks, including mega hits Still of the Night and Is This Love, found himself thrown out of Whitesnake, alongside bassist Neil Murray and drummer Ainsley Dunbar, even before the album had been released. Coverdale then assembled an entirely different, MTV-friendly group to tour the record. Sykes admits that he's still very bitter about how Coverdale treated him. David said nothing to any of us about having decided to kick us out of the band, the guitarist told Rock Candy, claiming he only found out he was no longer a member of Whitesnake when he asked the band's and our man John Callagher what was going on. I was furious and wasn't about to accept this, said Sykes. So I went down to the studio where David was still recording his vocals, prepared to confront him. Honest to God, he ran away, got in his car and hid from me. Sykes claims Coverdale blamed the record company for forcing him to change the band members. I knew he was fucking lying, said Sykes. And he insists Coverdale's claims to have written 95% of the album's guitar parts are also false. When I knew him, David could barely play the guitar, Sykes said. I know David has been saying recently that he and I have been talking about working together on a project outside of Whitesnake, said Sykes. That's completely false. I really have no interest in ever talking to him again. Adrian Vandenberg also confirmed that John had confronted David Coverdale earlier this year in an interview with Eddie Trunk on SiriusXM. He explained,
I was in the back of the studio working on a 4-track cassette deck to figure out a new guitar arrangement when there was a lot of noise in the control room, and that was John Sykes and David arguing about the fact that John didn't really accept not being in Whitesnake anymore. So that was quite a
wow. So you were
whoa.
This is crazy. Wait, so you were there when they actually broke up?
Well, yeah. Apparently, David let John Sykes. John Sykes was in England at the time, apparently, and David let John know that he thought their cooperation didn't work anymore, and apparently John Sykes didn't accept it, and he flew to United States to the studio where we were in at the time, Keith Olsen's Good Night LA studio. So I was working in the back room when John Sykes and David were arguing about
Oh my gosh!
whether or not, or yeah, that was quite a historic event, especially looking at it afterwards, because at that particular moment, nobody could have predicted the immense success of that record. So.
Earlier this year, David Coverdale said he held out an olive branch to John with no success. David explained,
well, the circumstances, there were attempts to engage, which were just, and I think you can speak as well, because I'd asked you to insert yourself at times, and nothing came back. So my feeling is I move on. I don't dwell on stuff. Oh my God, I've told you I'm like the Edith Piaf of rock. I have no regrets, particularly after attempted. There was a couple of people, not only professionally but privately, weren't interested in burying whatever hatchet was there. So once I've done that, once you've made that attempt, you're fine. Your karma book's clean. So it's sad, but I move on. I'm very blessed in my life. I have no place for regret, haters, negators.
Thank you for tuning in, and please hit that like button. It's appreciated. Make sure that you subscribe for more rock-related content.